Hi guys, it's November, it's 2021, exactly 2 years after I last attended it. I think that's when it last happened, before the pandemic, right? The Regent Street Motor Show is back on. What is the Regent Street Motor Show? Well, you know what? Let me show you around. You can probably just about make out some cars over there. We're gonna take a closer look at it. You know what? The weather's not too bad, so what a terrific day. It's absolutely packed, lots of variety of stuff there. Come and take a look right after this.
So, you want something sleek and glamorous, and then check out the Jaguar EType featured in our launch issue, alongside many other features such as
buying guides, owner's tips, and even how to buy your own first classic car.
Go Classics is about the cars that you relate to, the cars that you've dreamed of, and the cars that you can own, run, and enjoy. At Go Classics, we'll tell you how.
Go Classics is the most exciting car magazine on the shelves today. And it's out now, and you can get one by heading over to goclassics.co.uk, where you can find some of our fantastic limited time subscription offers.
forget about the boring, the pompous, the self-important. If you want something new,
Go Classics!
We're starting with Ferrari's, one of my favorite, the 456. So ahead of its time, such a beautiful looking car this. I drove one of these, it's fantastic. It's a big GT car, but actually really behaves like a sports car when you're on the limit, when you take it onto little B roads. It's actually really good. But this was bettered obviously by its car that, I don't know, kind of replaced it, but sort of came alongside it, which was the 550 Maranello. We're getting into the 456, 550 Maranello, 575. These were cars from Ferrari that you could actually start to use as daily drivers, and actually it opened up the Ferrari ownership proposition to a lot more people that maybe found them a little bit hardcore before. But these cars were actually quite livable. And there's another 456 there, and if you follow me, I want to show you two icons from Ferrari, a 70s icon and an 80s icon. Come with me. This, of course, is the Testarossa. This is one of the ultimate cars of the 80s. I mean, it's even got the 80s shoulder pads on it. Look at that. How wide is this thing? In fact, oh look, I know the owner. He's right there. Peter, come and join me. How you doing? You're right. We met at the concourse, wasn't it?
We did.
Back in, when was that?
It was about 6 weeks ago, I think.
Oh, that's quite a while ago, wasn't it? And
fun.
so this is the car that at the time was in the wrong place, but now it's in perfectly the right place.
Thank you. It was put in the wrong place. Yes, it's in the right place today here at Regent Street. And good afternoon. And yeah, no, it's great to have it and meet so many owners here. Lots of Ferraris and other wonderful cars.
So you've brought two of the icons, because both of these are yours. There's the 80s icon Ferrari and the 70s icon Ferrari, both made famous in TV shows as well, pretty much.
That's true. We're very lucky to have them. Yes, it's been a lot of work to get them here today and to own them in the first place, I suppose. But yes, we have the Testarossa, of course, which is 1990, and the slightly older, 308 GTS Quattro Valvoli,
Yeah.
which is both in black.
That's the one to have, isn't it?
Well, they're both fun to have.
Yeah.
Both a little bit noisy and quite not as quick as the modern electric cars. So, but
Let's not get. We'll talk about those a bit later. I know they're down the road actually.
Yeah.
How was it waking them up this morning? Because you got here quite early.
we did get. Well, I was waking me up with it this morning was the problem. 7 o'clock. But they're fine. The batteries were charged and they've been cleaned up. And I've got a co-driver who's very helpfully. Dan is off somewhere shopping, I think, at the moment. He helped drive the 308 down. So
Was it driven with the roof down?
yeah, it wasn't too bad with the roof down. Watching the weather, just have to pop it back on if we need to.
It's the way to do it, though, right?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
So what inspired you to get these two in particular?
I just think it's hit a time where their particular design has become very interesting. I think some modern cars are trying too hard to recreate and be something on top of something else, but these are now becoming very striking. I think most people are finding them very striking, particularly the 308, which is the slower of the two, but still very fascinating and fun to drive.
Slower but more fun. Also interesting, they're both in black, which is an unusual colour for Ferrari.
Yeah, I just think that the idea of having red Ferraris, and you probably get a few emails on this one. I don't think because it's red it has to be. Why would it be red? Because all Ferraris are red. No, I think black is more exciting visually and for photographs and for videos, etc. Just my own opinion.
Oh, quite right. Where can people find you? It's Hogan Racing, right?
Yeah, HoganRacing.com or Hogan Racing London is the Instagram. And yeah, if I can give anybody advice or help on any of the cars, give us a shout.
Great to see you again, Peter.
Absolute pleasure. See you again at the next event. Thank you.
So as you just heard, this is the quattro valve version. It's the 4 valves per cylinder version. I think this is probably one to have. Although a lot of people will say the early fiberglass ones are the one to have, but I think that these, to me, is the perfect shape. Just the last of the 308 versions, I think, are the best one. I do love the 328 as well, but of course, if you're a Magnum fan, which I am, then you want the 308, and of course, you want the Targa top, which is this one is. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I have driven one of these. I remember I did a twin test between this and what at the time was new was a Ferrari 458. The Ferrari 458 was much better in every single way possible, and I wasn't even that comfortable in this one, but this is the one I wanted to take home. It's awesome. That one, not so much. The bright yellow one behind me, this is a car that wasn't much loved in its day and hasn't been much loved for a long time, but prices are starting to pick up on the Mondial. The 4-seater 2+2, actually a proper 4-seater this one. Pretty much that car, but in a slightly sharper suit and an extended wheelbase with more room inside it. So we're talking about the Mondial, and actually I found the owner of the Mondial, Daniel. How you doing?
Hey, nice to meet you. Good, thank you.
Beautiful car. Now, to be honest, I have to confess, I haven't been too nice about your car, because I was talking about the fact that it was unloved, but I think recently things have changed, right?
Yeah, no, so I mean, I wasn't planning to buy a Mondial, but I recently went to the London Classic Car Show in Syon Park, and it wasn't an auction. I just stumbled across it and fell in love with it straight away. And what I think is interesting about it is it's a 1985, so in 4 years' time it will be vintage, 40 years old. And there was only less than 200 of these made in right-hand drive, and it's in its original colour, yellow fly, which is the Ferrari yellow means yellow B, and there's very few of these in yellow right-hand drive. So yeah, yeah, it's fun to drive and it's great.
So what is it looking like? Because I've just been telling the audience that actually the prices are beginning to pick up on these, and there is a lot more interest. Is that what you found?
Yeah, I mean, I think for a Ferrari, it's really good value what you can pick them up from, and yeah, they have started to go up. So yeah, I'm hoping it's continues to go up for me. Yeah. But
you're going to keep hold of it for a while.
I think so. Yeah, definitely wait until it's at least vintage, and then see. Yeah.
Have you had passengers in the back?
You can. I haven't, but it's possible. Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Enjoy the show, Daniel. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Bye-bye.
So after the Ferraris, we've got the best of British, if you like, Aston Martin. Certainly very, very representative of the icon that is James Bond. In fact, there's a little bit of a Bond thing further on. We're going to come to that in a minute. So what Astons have we got here? So obviously got bright yellow, I'm going colorblind, bright yellow Vantage. Next to that is, I think, the car that kind of relaunched Aston in its modern form, kind of brought them back and gave them a completely new style identity that took them away from what we had in the 60s and then in the 70s with a very muscular V8 Vantage. And that car was this one, the Jaguar, well, I say Jaguar because actually at one point it could have been a Jaguar, and in fact the Jaguar XJS is based on the same chassis as this. But this, of course, is a DB7, I think one of the most beautiful cars ever to come out of Aston Martin. So that's an icon. And then, of course, they've moved now to SUVs, as most supercar makers have. And this, of course, is the DBX. I got to be honest, not one of my favorites. It's not that I don't have an issue with it being an SUV, and I don't have an issue with supercar manufacturers creating SUVs, and even Ferrari are going to be coming out with one soon. But I just don't think that the design of that quite worked. Translate that beautiful iconic coupe shape into this SUV tall body shape. But what does work is the next one, if I don't trip up here, the next one next to that, which a version of that you saw, of course, in No Time to Die recently, if you saw the Bond movie, is of course the iconic V8 Vantage style cars. So as you can see, this show is proving very popular here at Regent Street, and of course it is a Saturday, so people are not only out shopping and then they're wandering down this road to see what's going on and admire the cars, but there's just a lot of car people come to take a look at and take pictures of these cars. Anyway, those are Aston Martins. Let's see what we've got further down. So So some more exotic cars, supercars, classic cars, including, of course, I think the supercar from Japan, the icon of Japanese automotive achievements, I would say, the Honda NSX. And this is a good one because it's got the pop-up lights, so I love the one with the pop-up lights. Later, of course, they got the faired-in lights, but this is an absolute classic. Look at the number plate, NSX Y1Y. So this is absolutely legend. I love these cars. Of course, Legend's another Honda, not this one, but this is a legend in its own right. It's a car that basically, when it first came out, it embarrassed the contemporary rivals from Porsche and from Ferrari. So it went up, they put it up against a 348 Ferrari, and it completely comprehensively trounced it, which actually is what accelerated the development program and led to the F355 from Ferrari. So it's responsible for that as well. And of course, behind me there, oh my God, I'm almost lost for words, because as many of you will know, that is my ultimate all-time favorite car, the Lotus Esprit. There in, I think it must be in the original guise, obviously, but I'm not sure if that's an S2. I suspect it is an S2. Could be an S3. So this is resplendent in black. Doesn't appear to be a turbo, but I wouldn't really care. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I think it remains utterly contemporary today. It is, of course, a car made famous in the Bond movie starring Roger Moore and The Spy Who Loved Me, in which he had the S1 there, which turned into the submarine. And by, I think, the later on, what was the car? What was the name of the film? It'll come to me in a minute. In that movie, of course, by that time he had a copper S3 turbo, which was originally white at the beginning of the movie, and then it blows up, and then it becomes a copper one. And the reason they painted it copper was because it would stand out better against the snow background in that movie, compared to the white one, which would kind of disappear. So there you go, a little bit of information there. So this is absolutely fantastic. I love that car. And behind that is another car that I do really, really like. And in fact, which I wanted to buy at one point, a Ford Capri. I wonder if that's a 2.8, because I wanted a 2.8. I think it looks like one, actually. Looks like the right generation. And at one point I was saving up to buy one of these, but I ended up buying a Supra. That's a story I've told often in the past, including on my blog, BrownCarGuy.com. If you just search for Supra, you'll find that story on there. But part of me does regret that I didn't get this car, because it's an icon. And of course, if I had got it, and if I had kept it, it'd be worth a lot of money now, because Capris are stupendous value for money. Talking of icons and how very often you relate to cars according to movies and TV shows. So I've talked about the Esprit, Bond, the Capri, the Professionals TV show, and then you had the Saint. And the Jaguar XJS, which again, a lot of people at the time criticized it for its flying buttresses and stuff like that. It was a replacement for the E-Type, of course, but I always loved it. This is a bit different, because this doesn't have the flying buttresses. This is a shooting brake, which is very unusual. So this is a custom-bodied, custom-engineered design, not really the production car. It's an interesting shape, that. I'm not sure that I would go for that. I would go for the regular one, but it's still an icon of a car, that XJS. And then we move to another absolute icon, a legend, in fact, and something of basically the peak of what the French could achieve with Citroen's technical innovation and imagination. Basically, the Citroen DS had already set the way for standards beyond anything that had appeared at the time, both in terms of what it could do technically, in terms of aerodynamics, in terms of how it drove, what it was capable of. I mean, famously, in the day of the Jackals, it was shown, it saved the president from assassination because it was of its ability due to its suspension to drive on 3 wheels. So when they wanted to do a luxury version, and they ended up buying Maserati at the time, they got a Maserati engine. The easiest thing would have been just to put it into this DS, to that DS. But instead, what they ended up doing was creating this incredible, luxurious Citroen SM, which looks absolutely amazing. Resplendent here in brown, perfect for the brown car guy, wouldn't you say? With brown leather interior as well. Lots of technology, lots of power, lots of performance, but just an extremely elegant and beautiful shape. That's such a fantastic car. Behind me is a Japanese icon, another Japanese icon. So we're being fair here, both Europe and Japan. This, of course, is one of the original Z cars. So the Datsun 240Z. These have a huge cult following. Of course, the Z car exists to this day. I almost bought a 300ZX at one point. I really wanted to get one of those, but it didn't quite happen. But it's absolutely a Japanese icon, and here you can see it's been displayed with a lot of paraphernalia and stuff like that. So a real icon. A lot of fun to drive, and also big cult following in the Middle East for these cars as well. Massive, massive fans for these cars. Inside, they really are very much of their time, you know, but really, really something quite special. And of course, you got next up, you know, which brown car guy doesn't love a Mercedes? And the towering headlights of this car represent it as an absolute classic, something that my father my father would probably have aspired to, you know, at some point. But for a lot of people, this was the car to have. Green, brown leather interior, fantastic, fantastically presented, great little car. Then you've got a couple of small icons of their era, and if you've seen the Italian job, you would have seen this car featured almost, probably actually more so than the Mini that you see behind, resplendent in the Union Jack back there. But the Fiat 500, return of the Fiat 500 after the Topolino pre-war, this came post-war. People love the size, people love its compact dimensions, but also the economy and the drive and just the sheer practicality of it. And of course you get the canvas roof. It's absolutely remarkable how small it is on the outside, but how much space there is on the inside. I'm looking at it now and it's 6'2". I reckon I could easily get in there and drive it. But it's absolutely adorable little thing. And of course the Mini is an icon in itself, no less adorable. That looks like it might have been Austin Powers' car or something, you know, with the flag on it. But huge fun to drive, and of course the whole nature and charisma and style of the car replicated by BMW once they bought the Mini brand, and they created the modern Mini in the year 2000, which still continues to be extremely successful. Talking of icons, another one is the Mercedes 300 SL. This is not a gull wing. It is absolutely beautiful, absolutely gorgeous, but I think that's got a removable hardtop on it. So this is a convertible, which actually is rarer than the gull wing, I think. But to me, it's got to be the gull wing or nothing, because you've got to have the doors that make it look like it's flying, right? Some more classics. So now we're moving into the British arena. So we've got Jaguars 2.5 litre SS100, 1938 this thing. Absolutely beautiful. Jaguar SS, well, it's got my initials on it. So maybe maybe I should take one home. But I do like the color on this. I do like the way that it's been presented and treated. Really, really nice. Cool. Let's go check out some more stuff. So if you haven't seen the movie No Time to Die, maybe I should say spoiler alert, because of course both of these cars actually appear in the movie, and you see 007 when he's kind of retired, or I should say James Bond when he's kind of retired, he's driving one of these, which of course, spoiler alert, breaks down on him, or supposedly it does anyway. So we go from this thing to the new Defender over there, the new Defenders, one of which, I don't know if that is definitely one of the stunt cars, and in fact I have actually driven the stunt car as well, and there's a video on the channel, so I'll put a link to it or whatever, but I've actually driven that in quite extreme circumstances. But we've got two of the cars lined up here, and they also have James Bond. Now over here, this is a charity, and so they are raising money here, support for Ben, and they're raising money, so you get your picture with the Bond cars and also with a James Bond impersonator, I would say. And that means basically he's dressed in a tux. So there he is right there. And there's the Ben Charity Bears, which is sitting on the bonnet there. This car hasn't been washed clearly since it was in the movie, or probably more likely since I drove one of these on an event recently. And like I said, you can see the video for that there. So there you go. No time to die, no time to stop, more cars to see. Let's go. So of course this year they were celebrating, I think it was the 50th anniversary of the iconic Jaguar EType, and I've seen so many of these displays now and all of the events that I've attended to over the course of the last few months. And of course I think here's another one. Quite a few cars here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, over 10 cars parked here. Beautiful, beautiful machines. A lot of stories to tell about those cars. I won't do that right now, but I think this will probably be the last display of the year to celebrate its 50th anniversary. But what a machine, what an icon. So let's keep going and see what else we've got at the show. Look at that one. That's a proper race car right there. Over here, talking of electric cars, we have a car that you've just seen in the video that I posted the other day. This is the car that I was riding around in. This is, of course, classic cars that have been converted to electric. And this is a Land Rover Series 2 that has been converted to electric. Let's see. I'm fine. I'm fine. We are on camera. How you doing? You're right. So we won't talk too much to Matthew because we've just put up a whole video with him on it. But how's the show going?
Great. It's crazy the number of people. The guy who's running it says there's going to be something like 300,000 people passing through here today.
I can believe it, and most of them are walking right in front of this camera.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
What's the reception been like to the electric?
Great. Everyone's very positive. I think the whole sort of blasphemy, sacrilege days have gone, which is slightly sad. It was quite nice to feel like the rebel in the.
No, you haven't seen the comments on some of the video because I've been getting. So you need to go and have a look. But yeah, I think there's a bit of both.
The early one seemed very positive. I'll have to go have a look again. But I'm used to it. The first comment I ever got for the Morris Minor was "shit car, he's made it shitter." So it comes with the territory, but that's okay. You're enjoying it?
Well, we're loving it. We're loving it. We're looking around. A lot of people, great cars, amazing event.
Yeah. It's lovely. It's our first time here, so it's a real pleasure, and hopefully we'll be back again.
Perfect. Cool, man. I'm going to catch up with you in a bit.
Pleasure.
Take care.
To see you again.
I covered this car maybe about a year ago or earlier on my pages or whatever. I love the way it looked when it came out. It's inspired by 1950s. It's called vans from that era, including the two-tone paintwork and all the rest of it. It is, of course, a completely new car, and it is all electric. It's called the Morris JE. You get 200-mile range out of it. It can carry 1 ton and 6 cubic meters. Fast charging in 30 minutes, 80%, and of course 0 emissions. But the thing about the car, I think, apart from the fact that I'm just looking at it now, and the front cabin takes up about half of the vehicle length, so it takes up a lot of space. But if you're gonna have a van, an electric van in London to deliver stuff in, I think that's a really cool proposition. I think it looks fantastic. There are just lines and lines of these incredible early 1900s vintage cars that are all running because they're all going to be doing the London-to-Brighton run tomorrow. That's when they're going to be actually seen in action. There's an incredible display, huge crowds milling around them. So what I'll do, and frankly, I got to confess, I don't know too much about this era of cars. What I'll try and do is I'll try and film as many as I can going along. We'll try and stop and talk to somebody as well if we can. But have a look, and if you identify the cars, if you know something about them, then leave your comments below so that I can learn something as well. So now when I said vintage, I was not joking. We are back to the early 1900s with some of these cars, and of course these are the cars that are taking part in the now famous almost annual, because I don't think it happened, I'm not sure if it happened last year because of the pandemic, or maybe it happened in reduced form, but the annual London-to-Brighton run. And these are the cars that are basically going to take part in that. So these are cars literally like 1900, 1904, 1903, sometimes even earlier. I mean, look at this thing. This is basically a horse and carriage without the horses. I mean, the one you're looking at right now. I mean, that is literally, the carriage is still there. You can imagine that you could tie a horse to the front of that, but it does have a radiator. So clearly it does have an engine. I know a couple of cars here, I don't know which ones exactly, are actually electric. So the very first examples of electric cars. I can tell you that the one next to it is a Cadillac, only because I've seen the logo on there and it is a Cadillac. I love that old Cadillac logo, but that's 1904, I'm guessing, that one. And then you've got cars that are completely open. Now the other interesting thing that you find with this display, I haven't seen many so far, but a lot of the owners will take a lot of time and effort to actually dress up as well in period costumes. I'm not seeing that many so far, but let's go and see if we can find some. Look at that. That is literally just a buggy. That is literally like a horseless. I mean, look at this thing. This is absolutely tiny. And literally you can imagine that was just a little horse and buggy thing. And now it's somewhere under there. But look, weird thing is it's got seats in the front as well as on the other side. How are you supposed to see where you're going? So look at this amazing car behind me, and I notice the kids are all over this. Now, the person who says he's in possession of it is Kevin here. Hi, nice to meet you.
Oh yeah.
Tell me about this.
So this is a 1904 de Dion Bouton, made in France. It's one of the It's one of the biggest cars on the event. London-to-Brighton run tomorrow, and we're lucky enough to be able to drive it. It's part of a collection over in Essex. The owner is a passionate veteran car guy. He's got 6 cars on the event, and he trusts me to drive one of them. So
And he's very generous with the cars. I noticed that you are really letting people on the car and play with the car and all the rest of it.
So the owners believes in particularly for the kids, getting kids involved and getting kids to see the cars. They'll be the veteran car owners of the future. So yeah, he has open days at his farm where he gets the collection out, and he does. He even does Model T Ford driving for kids. So just to encourage, just to sow that seed, so that hopefully they'll be the guys that want to own the cars in the future.
And how often is this actually used then?
So this particular car is regularly out on the roads. It attends lots of veteran car events, and we often just going out for a picnic. Okay, let's take one of these.
So it's regularly run. So doing the London-to-Brighton run is no issue for it.
That's quite a challenge.
How many times has it done it?
So it's successfully done it 5 times.
Successfully?
Yeah, it's had a couple of issues on 2 other runs, but
tell me what it's like though. What is it like to do the London-Brighton tour? I've never actually done it myself, but I can imagine like all of these vintage cars traveling on this road. What's the sensations like?
It's absolutely spectacular, because these are roads that people normally drive in, modern cars, and I drive in London all the time, and I drive in a modern car. But to get to do it in something like this, and with the London-to-Brighton run, because it's such a big event, everybody knows about it. The streets are lined with people. There's people out all that 65 miles from London to Brighton, and pretty much everywhere on the route there'll be people out waving flags or giving us a wave, or we drive past lots of pubs. The pubs are always full, people out waving to us. And obviously, when you get to Brighton as well, the streets are lined there as well. It's a fantastic event.
But I see that you really dress the car, and it's not just a case of the cars, but it's the whole idea of that era, I guess.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. We try to get in the spirit of it. Just adds to the day, adds to the appeal of it, and actually, it's quite warm as well. There's plenty of layers going on under here, and that helps to keep you warm as well. So some of it was practical back in the day. It's practical now as well.
Kevin, thank you so much for talking to us. Thank you for bringing this to the show, and thank you for letting the kids all over. I think that's amazing. That's fantastic. Yeah. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. No worries. Best of luck for tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Take care. Cheers.
Well, the king is dead. Long live the king.
So, you want something sleek and glamorous, and then check out the Jaguar EType featured in our launch issue, alongside many other features such as
Buying guides, owner's tips, and even how to buy your own first classic car.
Go Classics is about the cars that you relate to, the cars that you've dreamed of, and the cars that you can own, run, and enjoy. At Go Classics, we'll tell you how.
Go Classics is the most exciting car magazine on the shelves today, and it's out now. And you can get one by heading over to goclassics.co.uk, where you can find some of our fantastic limited time subscription offers.
forget about the boring, the pompous, the self-important. If you want something new,
Go Classics!